Hello everyone, welcome to the W Show. My name is Sarah Black. I've temporarily taken away the hosting rights from Riley Beveridge. We've just wrapped Riley on shooting. But the reason we're having this little extra special bonus start to W Show, you've got some breaking news.
We do, yeah. So Scott Gowans, the head coach of Sydney's AFLW program through its first 4 years in the competition, has departed the club. We revealed that news on afl.com.au earlier this morning. Relatively surprising news given the fact that Sydney had been in contention for finals right the way through the year, but lost 6 of their last 8 games to dramatically crash out of finals contention. And it all sort of concluded with that loss to Essendon, that shock loss to the Bombers on Saturday night last week. So the players were brought into a meeting on Thursday morning where they were told of the news that Scott Gowans would no longer be their senior coach. He was contracted through until 2027. So it's a bit of a surprise from that perspective. 2 years remaining on his deal in terms of parting ways with a coach with 2 years remaining on their contract. That's always a surprise when it does happen. But there've been murmurings right the way through the season of some player disgruntlement, and I think Sydney's now come to this result and this conclusion to part ways and to start fresh. They'll begin looking for his replacement immediately. And of course, this is new CEO Matthew Pavlich's first real big decision at the helm, having taken over from Tom Harley only a matter of weeks ago. And this is his first big call at the Swans. Yeah,
huge call from Pav there, the old Fremantle legend, now in charge of the Sydney Swans. Having watched the Swans this year, it's been interesting. They started the year in such scintillating fashion. Had that 4-week period where they were undefeated. Chloe Molloy was flying high. Yep. But speaking to teams around the place, it seems to be the common consensus around the Swans is that there was no plan B. Yeah. Once teams were able to lock on to how to beat the Swans, that was it.
And I think in a 12-game season, when you start 4-0, you just cannot afford to be missing finals regardless. But they missed finals from a position where they were 4-0 and they still had games against teams that ended up finishing 14th, 15th and 17th on the ladder. And I think from the very top of Sydney, and I think everyone would recognise that that's simply not good enough. You have to make finals from that position. So they've come to the decision now to part ways with Scott Gowans as senior coach. It's interesting now in the sense that there are 2 clubs looking for an AFLW senior coach. Of course, with Doc Clark retiring at Adelaide on the eve of the season, they are still looking for their next senior coach. Sydney joins them in looking for a replacement for Scott Gowans. And just one name to keep up your sleeve, and it's Tanya Hetherington, who's been a long-time assistant at the Swans, a former player in AFLW. She is widely respected right across the competition. I think she's one name to watch in this coaching hunt.
And speaking of highly regarded senior assistant coaches, we have Shae Sloane as our special guest on the W Show. Riles, the hosting reins are yours. Let's get on with your proper show.
Hello and welcome to the W Show, where finals are just around the corner. We've got so much to unpack. I'm Riley Beveridge. To do that with me, I've got Sarah Black as always. G'day, Sarah.
Finals time, can't wait, Riles. It's been a big 3 months and we're ready to go.
It's going to be fantastic, and we've got a very special guest today. It is Melbourne's Senior Assistant Head of Development, Shae Sloane. Shae, thanks for coming on the W Show.
Nah, thank you for having me. Very good time of year to be in here, that's for sure.
We will get into your final with Brisbane in just a little bit. Before we do that, though, the All-Australian squad for season 2025 has been revealed. Here are the names that we are looking at as part of this. As Brisbane there, following their top 4 finish, get 4 players included in the squad. They're one of a number of sides to have multiple players in this year's squad. Sarah, I'm going to throw a little bit of a challenge to you in just a little second as we flip the page. There are the rest of them. North Melbourne, North Melbourne, 6 players involved, and then Shae, your Dees, they have 3 players involved with Maeve Chaplin, Tyler Hanks and Kate Hoare, of course. But Sarah, take me through an overview of this. I want your surprise ins from this squad and your unlucky omissions.
Yeah, well, this is the first year in 6 seasons that I haven't had to pick the All-Australian squad. So I am ready to go and to pick apart this group. It's a pretty good effort, let's be honest. Yep. First things first, I like the fact they've picked a couple of wingers in there, Michaela Bowen and Neve Kelly, so that could be a sign of things to come. I was a little bit surprised to see Tani White's name in there, the Collingwood midfielder defender. She's clearly had a super strong physical year, and that's been rewarded. And then the omissions, the girls I was surprised not to see there. Jessie Wardlaw, who has won numerous games off her own boot this year, may have been consistency that cost her in the end. But West Coast's backline has been really strong this year, in a year where key defenders haven't been overly present. I think Zoe Wakefer and maybe Georgie Cleaver account themselves unlucky. One name I didn't see, Chloe Malloy.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by Chloe Malloy, given her year. I know it ended early and that might have hurt Sydney on the weekend, and that loss to Essendon with the back surgery that she underwent. But I was surprised by her. I was surprised by Tess Craven not being there. And then Shae, I was surprised by Eden Zanker not being there as well. You've got 3 Melbourne players in this squad. Were you a bit shocked that Eden wasn't part of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think she's had a ripping year, and it's probably, back to the consistency, like you said, with Wardlaw for her. But yeah, Edo, you saw her on the weekend kicking 4 goals straight, and she's put together a ripping year. So we've celebrated her internally, as with the rest of the group, and then it's pleasing to see Kate, Hanksy and Mavo all get the recognition outside of the club as well. So they've all been brilliant, which has been great for them.
That side, of course, is finalised at the W Awards, which is in a couple of weeks' time. Before we get on to the games across the weekend, a big story from this week revolves around Christy Lee Weston Turner and the Western Bulldogs' former #1 pick. So as we revealed on AFL.com.au earlier in the week, North Melbourne is now among the sides to have registered a pretty significant interest in the former #1 pick, who looks set to be leaving the Western Bulldogs after just 2 seasons. She, of course, arrived as the top choice in that 2023 draft. Now, the Kangas aren't the only ones in the mix for Weston Turner. Hawthorn and Brisbane are also in the race for her. She's still weighing up her decision. I don't expect her to come to a call on where her preferred landing spot is, at least for a few weeks now. She didn't officially request a trade from the Western Bulldogs when she had her exit meeting on Wednesday. I think that might be because the 3 sides still in the mix for her remain in the finals race. But the Kangas are chasing her, and chasing her pretty aggressively. Sarah, that wasn't the only news of the week, though, because the grand final was the night grand final for the first time last year, and it's back again in 2025.
It is back again. There's a tiny little asterisk here that it does depend, the exact timing depends on the location of the grand final. But with the Roos hot favourite to have that hosting rights and qualify through the grand final, if it is indeed at Icon Park, it will be a night grand final. If it is in Brisbane or in Adelaide, it'll be just a little bit earlier in the evening, just juggling all those time zones there. And West Coast, as the 8th seed, cannot possibly host. So night grand final at Icon Park. Shae, you would have been an onlooker last year. A bit of a jealous onlooker, but do you enjoy the night grand final?
I loved it last year as much as I would have rather our team be playing in it. But yeah, it was a really good environment around the city. I was at an event that was run by the W Club, and it was actually really enjoyable to sit and have it at night, and just created a great atmosphere. So yeah, we're really happy with that, and we'd love to be playing in it this year.
Certainly would love to see the Dees in that. Let's have a look at the full finals week 1 fixture, and it all kicks off on Friday night at Icon Park with North Melbourne against Hawthorn. That's a massive clash, as is Carlton against West Coast in that elimination final. That's on Saturday, and then there's a double header on the Sunday. Melbourne against Brisbane at Icon Park, and then Adelaide taking on St Kilda at Norwood Oval. So a big round of fixtures there. Shae, I want to know, I know Melbourne obviously made the request to play their first final at Casey Fields. It was knocked back by the AFL. It's going to be at Icon now. What was the thinking behind that from the Dees?
Yeah, I think we've played 5 of our 6 home games this year at Casey Fields. That is our home ground, so why not ask the question? But yeah, like we said, we're just happy to be in finals this year, so we'll play a final anywhere. So Icon Park is perfect for us. But yeah, we love Casey Fields. We love the environment. I live 20 minutes away, so it would have been ideal.
I think that's the key.
Yeah, exactly. I was a big driver of it, but no, we're happy to just be playing anywhere, anytime, as Kate said yesterday, I think. So that's our mindset going into this.
The quirk of this finals draw is that we've got a number of teams matching up again back to back. You've had a week's grace between games with Brisbane, which I think you'd be quite happy about. They're quite a physical team, but what did you take out of the loss to Brisbane a few weeks ago? Chief among them, I've totally lost the name. Conway.
Conway.
Yes, Conway. Yes. We wanted to shut her down, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is a really unique situation to be in, where you get to play a team, have a week of learning and being able to apply it in a different game and in a different setting, and then come back and play them again in a really high stakes game. So we took a lot of learnings out of the game against Brisbane in round 11. Like you said, their physicality, their ability to get contest to contest, they just outnumber really well wherever the ball is. So yeah, if we're not clean with ball in hand, if we don't execute our way of wanting to play, we'll just play into their hands completely. And Sophie Conway is probably the prime example of being able to get everywhere that the ball is. She's just the first there, provides great support for her teammates. So that's something as a team we'll be looking to combat, but it's going to take the whole team, that's for sure.
One player you will have to plan for now is Kathy Sfark. She was offered a 1-match ban from the match review for this incident involving Kalinda Howarth, but Sarah, she went to the tribunal on Wednesday evening and was able to overturn that suspension.
Really curious incident here. On, face value, there's not much in it. She was charged, however, given it was an off-the-ball incident. And that charge was, in the end, it was completely dismissed.
Yeah.
So, she's free to play, no fine to pay, which is even better for Kathy's back pocket. But that case took 2 hours, so it certainly wasn't an easy decision.
Certainly wasn't. One other important Brisbane player I think we should mention is Taylor Smith. We've mentioned her a couple of times this year, and I'm alongside Eden Zanker, who I know you know well, Shae. I think Taylor Smith now is probably the most high-profile player being chased by rival clubs ahead of this year's AFLW trade period. So we revealed earlier in the year that Essendon had made the early running on Taylor Smith, but they're not the only one. So Sydney is currently making a pretty aggressive chase for the Brisbane key forward as well, while Hawthorn, who we're about to get to shortly, has also registered an interest in her after she won the goal kicking award last year. She's contracted for 2026, but I think with future trading now being able to trade a year in advance, clubs are looking at contracted players across the AFLW and saying could be offered 2 picks to get her across to our club. So that's the landscape of AFLW. Now, Brisbane's also been in talks to potentially extend her deal beyond 2026 as well. I want to chat more in depth about your career, Shae, because you've done just about everything in your role at Melbourne. As we mentioned off the top, you're the senior assistant now, you're the head of development, you've done some recruiting work with the club as well. You've even acted as the senior coach on a couple of occasions. What's next for you, do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm incredibly happy in my role at the moment. Like you said, I get to sort of dabble in a range of different roles within the footy club, which, it's been great exposure. I've learnt off some fantastic people as well. So having someone like Todd Patterson that you're learning recruiting off, a coach of mixed and ears quality, that I get to pick his brain daily and, sort of learn from him how to be a high-level coach and probably one of the best in the business. So for me, I'm just still learning about myself as a coach and who it is that I want to be in this landscape. But I absolutely love my job. I love the development side of the role, working with the first to third years and really driving them and driving their growth as AFLW footballers. Really happy with what I'm doing. Really happy to continue learning and sort of see where it goes in the next few years.
Not to make it into a HR goals meeting, but which is there a path that you want to go down?
Oh, I'm loving the coaching at the moment. I think, head of development I love and being able to work with individuals, but the creativity, the education behind coaching, it's sort of coming from a teaching background, that's sort of where my passion lies, and love the game of football, love educating and love sort of being creative, and nothing looks the same day in, day out. So I'll continue to drive down the coaching laneway, but see where it takes me.
And speaking to a lot of people in the competition, you are seen as a coach in waiting, so we can't wait to see you take that role one day. On Sunday, Adelaide takes on St Kilda. The Crows obviously lost to the Saints in round 1, Shae. A big player on that day was Paige Trudgeon. I think she had 15 spoils. She was rested last week. She'll be back in. What makes her such a good defender, and what's going to make her so important for this elimination final?
Yeah, I think just as a key defender, I like her ability to impact on those forwards. So, her ability to come forward and impact when needed, her ability to intercept mark. She just puts pressure on the forwards, and there's no easy task for them. Something St Kilda do as well, they continue to get numbers back behind the ball to support her. So for her, she would never feel like she's one player out in that defensive 50. So, copying 50 inside 50s and then having your players around you, it would give you that full confidence, bring the ball to ground, and your teammates are going to mop it up. So she's definitely a key player and keen to see what she does this weekend. It's
going to be St Kilda's first finals campaign, Sarah, but they're going to be missing a few. And it's been an issue for them the whole way through the second half of the season. To actually get to this point has been quite an achievement, hasn't it?
They've been somewhat limping to the finish line, and I think that was on show in that really heavy loss to the Dogs last week. Paige did miss that game. She is a test for this week, as is Nicola Barr. Should be a huge inclusion. If they can somehow get Liv Vesely up for this game, that'll be good, but I don't know what sort of form she'll be in. She's barely played this year. And then you can see the rest of the names there. There's some really prime runners in that group. I think that's one of the key issues for the Saints when it comes to this pointy end of the season. We saw how damaging Adelaide were with a must-win game. They were really fierce and strong around the footy, and I'm just not sure that St Kilda has the cattle at the moment to match it with the Crows and pull off another shock win as they did in round 1.
Adelaide's got their own fitness concerns though, and in particular around Chelsea Randall, who we know has had the long history of battles with concussion. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, so Chelsea suffered a delayed concussion in round 5 after playing Hawthorn and has not played since, unfortunately. She was really close last week, but got through the major training session all good and then went home and developed a bit of a headache. So it wasn't a major issue, but the club doctor erred on the side of caution. She has, as you said, had a history of concussion issues and had a number of scans over that time. The latest scan is positive. It's really good news from Chelsea from that regard. It's tracking really well, her brain health and everything. So she's got to get through today's session and she'll hopefully be right to go. Neve Kelly, also suffering from concussion, she'll be right to take on the Saints.
Hopefully we see Chelsea Randall out there because she's the champion of the competition. All right, let's get to Friday night's game, the qualifying final, 1v4, North versus Hawthorn. And it's going to be wet, Sarah, at Icon Park.
It is going to be wet. I'm a little bit of a weatherhead and I'm slightly obsessed with this. So last weekend, I thought Hawthorn best matched North Melbourne when it was raining. That second quarter was when they really managed to clamp down on North's run and carry, and they just weren't able to capitalise on the scoreboard and kick accurately to really take full advantage of that. It's going to be wet again. There's a chance of a thunderstorm late in the day.
Yep.
And, you know, Hawks will be they'll be doing a rain dance to try and get this weather up. The one area where Frankston is not comparable to Icon Park. Icon's much wider.
Yep.
So, yeah, Frankston was really narrow. So because it was wet, they were able to really, clog the game up. That's, not going to be as much of an advantage at Icon.
There could be some fire in this one as well, given the non-guard of honour at the end of last Friday night's game. It was Jazz Garner's 100th game. The North Melbourne skipper, Hawthorn, made an apology earlier this week saying they were sorry that they didn't do the guard of honour. It was a logistical issue. They forgot about it at the end of the game. Shae, I'm interested to get your thoughts, not on this incident in particular, but how much do you think a side like the Kangas will be using this as motivation going into another week? Do the Dees ever use these type of things as motivation? Can you have that chip on your shoulder going into a contest because of incidents like these?
I think it's a real fine line between how much you can take that in. Will it completely change the way that you play because you're taking it in, or that's sort of the art of coaching, I suppose. Is how much do you use it as fuel for fire? But I think Hawthorn coming out and apologising at the start of the week, it was clearly not intentional.
Yep.
I'd be surprised if there's too much heat in it. I feel like North are a pretty mature group and they won't be leaning on that too much. They know that their game style and the way they play footy is probably good enough without having to bring too much else.
They haven't needed much added motivation, North Melbourne, this year as it is already. All right, one important player for Hawthorn has been Anya McDonough right throughout the year. We spoke about Anya McDonough a few times in relation to her contract status. Clubs have had a pretty significant interest in her right the way through, but she's now decided that she will stay at Hawthorn on a new deal, which is great news for the Hawks going into their finals campaigns. The clubs that had registered an interest in her, and I'm told the most significant of those was from Greater Western Sydney, in recent days they've been told that she will stay following a season where she's kicked 22 goals. So Hawthorn's interest in Taylor Smith, that we mentioned before, is to complement Anya McDonough, not to replace her. So that's great news for the Hawks. All right. We're about to get to Carlton and West Coast, and one person who's going to take a very deep dive into that is Gemma Bastiani.
Carlton has propelled itself back into finals for the first time since 2020. And there are two key players to the way that they've played their footy this year that I think are their most important, or they're very important players. Tara Bahana is their recruit, obviously from the Gold Coast Suns. She's just straightened up that forward line for my liking, and they kick 2 more goals per game when she's in the team compared to when she's out of the team. And the big one we're going to focus on today is Mimi Hill. Rising star from a couple of years ago, is their vice captain, missed 3 games and they kind of got a little bit shaky when she was out of the side. So I want to show some vision as to why these two in particular, but Mimi Hill, are their most important. Tara Bahana, she's just so clean in that ability to come up out of the forward line and hit the ball at speed. The Mimi Hill generally starting on the wing a little bit, sliding forward, asking a lot of questions of her direct opponent and becoming that deeper target. Obviously doesn't go through for a goal there, but she's just asking those attacking questions of her direct opponent. Again here, immediately recognises it, immediately gets on the run, out in space ahead of her opponent, and is able to start that attacking chain again against West Coast on the weekend. Tara Bahana out of this gets a 50-metre penalty and kicks a goal. But just the way that they link up is so important. And again, Mimi Hill on the wing here. So as a winger, she's a known inside midfielder, but as a winger, she's having to hold her space rather than go into stoppage. Not the best kick from Mim there, but she's just holding that space outside as the outlet to support those midfielders inside the contest. And again, she gets the ball, we move through a bit of play, it goes inside 50 and comes back out. And so for a third time, Mim Hill is sitting on the outside of that contest, doesn't go into it, trusts that her teammates are going to get the ball in the contest, and is the outlet option. So the way that she balances out Carlton's midfield is so important team come finals. And again, West Coast, we're going to have to play them again this weekend, 2 weeks in a row, but Jess Wrench will be back. So do we think that Jess Wrench ends up being the player to go to Mim Hill instead of someone else that we would have anticipated last week? That's my question for you all.
All right, so it will be a massive question going into this week's game. Shae, you're the coach here. If you were in charge of the Eagles and you had Jess Wrench on your side, who do you send her to?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a luxury having someone like Jess Wrench on your team, isn't it? But yeah, I think Gemma's on point there with Mimi Hill. I think she's such a big driver of Carlton's offence, and her ability to just be there and outnumber and support. Definitely creates a good option for Carlton. And yeah, if you're West Coast, you definitely want to be shutting that down. The other one I'd question is Harriet Cordner and the impact that she had defensively last week. How are West Coast going to sort of shut that down and shut the intercept down, and her ability to sort of drive off defence?
Could you play a forward tag, do you reckon?
Don't know, yeah. It's something I'd be interested in. I wouldn't put it past Daisy, that's for sure.
All right, speaking of Daisy, West Coast's improvement under her watch has been rather incredible. So through the first 5 years of the Eagles in the AFLW, they won 8 games. They've won 10 in just 2 seasons since Daisy got there. Their rise under Daisy has been, as we said, one of the most, I think it's been one of the most underrated stories of the AFLW over the last couple of years. Shae, you've obviously worked closely with Daisy for a number of seasons during your time together at Melbourne. Does anything about this surprise you?
Nah, not at all. No, it was sort of, when was this going to happen? You always knew that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when, and it's been so cool to watch. Everyone at Melbourne is Daisy's biggest supporter, and very happy seeing West Coast in the finals this year.
It's probably an underrated, people don't realise how much work goes into running a football program and turning it around as she has. She must have been just working her butt off the last couple of years to get everything around her in place.
Absolutely, and I think she's the sort of person that just draws good people to her as well. She's genuine, she's hardworking, and you know exactly what you're going to get, and type of person that when she talks, you listen. So, there is no surprises that they are where they are, and that the people she's bringing into West Coast are driving the elite standard.
It was fantastic to watch West Coast, watch Essendon play Sydney on Saturday night, knowing that their finals hopes rested in the hands of the Bombers. You can see a couple of girls there were even wearing Essendon jumpers as they watched this one. These were great scenes, weren't they, Sarah?
They really were. It's such a curious way to make finals, to have to wait, and also to wait all that time. The West Coast staff got on board. The Eagles haven't played finals as a club since 2020.
Yeah.
So this is huge for this club. There's also a bit of love for the red and black, which we'd love to see. Shout out to Dana Hooker too, who half retired.
Yeah.
She sort of
she got the chair off
because it was probably the last home game. But she's had to come out of retirement for this one last game.
She's retired twice, potentially maybe even 3 times if they win this week, which would be great to see. Carlton aren't that experienced when it comes to finals either, though, are they? No.
So this is a really curious one. We've been talking about, the fact that it's West Coast's first final series, and they're quite inexperienced. But the fact is that Carlton don't have many left from the last time they played finals, and Cordner and Bahana have played finals at other clubs. I've got stars next to Ali Drennan and Annabelle Johnson. They're currently out of the side, so not sure if they will play this weekend. But even so, both teams are still quite experienced when it comes to the pointy end of the season. So keep a watch on that one.
How many games are you doing on the weekend, Sarah?
I'm doing 2, but I'm going to 3. I'm going to all Melbourne games.
I love it. Shae, you're going to have a big day ahead of you on Sunday. All the best for the finals campaign. Thank you so much for joining us on the W Show.
Thanks very much for having me.
And don't forget, you can get tickets for this weekend at womens.afl/tickets. It's only $15 for adults. Kids under 18 go free. And don't forget, for all of the latest, head to afl.com.au or womens.afl. See you next week.